All right, the individual it looks like is in a car that's labeled Zoom user. If you can unmute.
Yes, ma'am. It's me, Cash Crowell. I'm at work. My phone doesn't work. My camera's broke the other way.
Okay, let's
Y'all hear
see.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Um, just a minute. All right, Mr. Crow, I'm trying to figure out what time your hearing is scheduled.
It said 9 o'clock. Yes, ma'am.
Well, my docket starts at 9. That doesn't necessarily mean your case is right at 9. Just a minute.
Judge, that one's set to start at 1:15.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Kroll, we're not going to be ready for your case till this afternoon at 1:15.
Oh, at 1:15. Okay.
So you can log back in on this same link at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're here for our status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record this morning. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the department. The St. Francis Permanency Specialist today is Tiffany Brown.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Ashley Sangster.
Vince Noack for the father, Cameron Shelton.
JC Zabala for the child.
All right. What do we have new since the court report was filed?
Good morning, Your Honor. Since the court report has been filed, Judea was placed home with her mother, Ashley Sangster, last Thursday. She is doing well. She was happy in the home. She has siblings there, and she was enjoying herself when I left the home on Thursday.
Okay. So we did some drug tests, and those came back negative, and then we placed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. What about service plans?
They both have a assigned service plan that has been filed, and they're both willing to work services.
Anything else from the department today?
We were hoping to get out of the case this morning since we placed Judea home with Ashley.
All right. Well, where does that leave? I mean, do parents have any court orders? Do they have?
No, ma'am. There are no standing orders in this case.
Judge, do you want attorneys to go talk real fast and see if we can reach some sort of really quick agreement?
Yeah, I mean, we can leave them right where we found them, or we can. I don't know if there's some arrangement. You know, I just always worry a little bit about what happens from here, but I guess they can figure that out in a different court proceeding. But do you all, Mr. Noack, Ms. Archer, do you all want to discuss that, or you want to just leave everybody where you found them?
I'm happy to discuss it, Judge, but my number one concern today is visitation for Cameron with this child. In this court we can do it. In another court, I'm not sure he'd get a court-appointed lawyer. I'm happy to talk with the lawyers though.
Okay, let me put y'all in a breakout room and let's just talk about this for a minute.
Thank you, Judge.
I would like to get an order in place regarding this child, Judge. However, attorneys need to speak with their clients regarding what they may be willing to do in regards for visitation. So we would like to request that this be set shortly after the first of the year. Everybody will waive their 45 days notice of the final hearing. That way, just some of those details can be hashed out and this child's not left without orders.
I think that's a really wise idea. So I don't mind hanging on to it for that much longer. Let's just look here.
And Tiffany, oh, I'm sorry, Judge.
Well,
and Tiffany, that's just to get some orders in place regarding permanency for the child, and so it shouldn't take very long. And Judge, we could even circulate an email, and if everybody we can reach an agreement via email, we can always just submit an agreed order to the court.
Sure. All right, let's look here. January 9th. So we could set it at 1 o'clock.
Works
That
for me, Judge.
Works for
Works
me.
I'm sure Daniel's probably already gonna be around, so.
Yeah, I mean, we've got other stuff that morning, but let's set it at 1 and that'll give you guys time to get back from the holiday and everybody talk and do all of that.
Okay,
So,
Now, going forward between now and the 9th of January, Judge, what sort of visitation, this might be a Tiffany Brown question, what sort of visitation will Mr. Shelton have with this child?
Right now there's an open investigation, so we can't allow contact until that investigation has closed.
Is there an order prohibiting him from having visitation? Has a court entered an order?
No, it's normal practice since he is the alleged perpetrator.
How long will that take to complete that investigation?
There is a 20-day staffing scheduled for next week, Wednesday.
So this man will go through Christmas without having visits with his daughter?
Yes, sir, until the
Can we-
investigation is closed.
Can we do Zoom visits? Not in person, but Zoom visits?
well, the problem is it's hard for me to address because I don't know what the allegations are. So, it would, if it's under investigation, I mean, it would normally be the same theory that in any kind of investigation is we wouldn't want that contact to jeopardize or intimidate or otherwise interfere with an investigation. Is it an outcry by the child? Let me just ask it that way.
It's an open investigation for suspected.
The child didn't like having her diaper changed and she was nervous going into the bathroom. Is there more that I'm missing, Tiffany?
It was her behavior. Her behaviors during bath time and diaper changing, and also her behavior after having a Zoom call with Cameron. The foster parents called in an intake after a visit that I supervised over Zoom on December 4th, I believe. I don't know if those behaviors during bath time are still persistent. Ashley can speak to that, but I know at her foster home, the behaviors had restarted once Judea had that visit with her father over Zoom, and she had a meltdown and we had to end the visit.
She hadn't made an outcry directly against Mr. Shelton, correct?
She's two.
She's
I
two.
understand. I get that, Judge. I get that.
I'm gonna just step in and I think that while it's pending, it's for everybody's protection, including Mr. Shelton, that we just not have any contact. And I know that's hard, it's difficult, and I'm sorry about it, but I think it's best for everybody's sake that just be tabled. Now, if that gets cleared and before you all get together, then I don't have a problem with supervised access. If that allegation is ruled out, then they can schedule something with him.
May I ask Ms. Brown a question that's probably obvious to everyone but me, but I have a question about may I ask a question first of all?
Sure.
Thanks, Judge. You said you were set for a 20-day staffing. What exactly does that mean? That like within 20 days, you'll have it staffed and figured out, or it will be staffed in 20 days?
We had a staffing directly when the intake was received, and we had directions for the foster parent and whatnot from the department. The department is doing the investigation. Then we have a 10-day staffing to come back together to check the status of the investigation. Then we have a 20-day staffing, and it's the department's procedures when there's an open investigation.
Gotcha. So today's the 19th, and I'm really, I like to look on paper calendars. When do you expect to have a ruling one way or the other?
I don't know because the investigation is being conducted by the CPI that works for DFPS.
And I'm just educating myself here with the 20-day and 10 days. You've already had a meeting? You've already staffed this case?
We've had the initial intake staffing with the investigation department.
And then the next step is a 20-day or a 10-day?
It's usually a 10-day, and they just give us an update on where they are with the investigation, if they've made any progress, if they if there's still things that are pending that needs to be done.
And when is that day 10?
I have it on my calendar for next Wednesday.
Okay. Okay. And then after that, there's a 20-day, so 10 days and then 20 days?
If it's necessary.
Okay. So we'll know something next Wednesday. You're either
Yeah.
going to continue the investigation or rule it out, correct?
Correct.
Tiffany, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Vincent, could you check your direct messages real quick?
Cameron, do you want to break that room?
Please. Please.
Judge, I know we're running. I hate to put us behind, but may I speak to Cameron in a break?
Yeah. What I'd like to do today is just, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and wrap up this status hearing. And then I'll put you guys in a breakout room and y'all can talk, knowing that we're set then January 9th. And that way you all can have however much time you need to talk. So,
gotcha.
Judge, Mr. Nowak is actually on the 915 case as well.
oh, okay.
But Cameron, would it be okay if I called you the minute I'm done with my 915 case?
As long as I get to talk to you today as soon as possible, that'll be fine.
Do you think anything you're going to say is going to change what the judge is fixing to do is say no visits until CPS either rules it in or rules it out. That's what the court is fixing to do. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I understand what they're trying to do.
Okay. I'll call you the minute I'm off my next hearing.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Archer, anything today?
No, Judge, we're just happy the child's placed with mom. She's excited about it.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Zavala?
I was excited that the child was placed back with mom. We're scheduled to talk tomorrow and set a time for me to go out and see her there. But I'm glad that was able to happen.
Okay. All right, then for today, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue placement with mom. I'm going to order the service plans as an order of the court. So from now until January, when we come back for our final, then, everybody understands you're still subject to these orders. It's kind of an unusual situation, but I'm going to go ahead and give admonishments. Failure to work your service plans could result in the child not returning home, could result in termination of parental rights. So we'll just see where this thing ends up in January. Until then, until this investigation is closed, then there'd be no contact between Mr. Shelton and the child. And, if we get that ruled out, then the department can go ahead and get visits scheduled. Obviously supervised. Okay, I'll see everybody back January 9th. Initial permanency hearing.
Judge, while you get
We're
everybody.
conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. We'll take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the department, the St. Francis Permanency Specialist is Rachel Peoples.
Jeff Hill on behalf of Rochelle Long. I believe she's present. I hear her voice and I see a screen marked Rochelle, but there's no audio or video, I'm sorry. But I believe that's her. We're ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Danny Tidwell.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Liam.
All right, and Mr. Nowak, your client is not present today. Just for the record. So
Correct,
he
Judge.
is still incarcerated.
He's still incarcerated. His projected release date is September of 24.
Okay. All right. All right, then. What do we have new since the court report was filed?
So Liam did go to, he went to the ER this past weekend. He swallowed a little light bulb, but the x-ray checked out good. And there was nothing there. So I also, on the last court report little bullet, when it talks about that I was that Rochelle went to Senecor. I went on December 4th and attempted to go see her, but she was not there. They said they can neither confirm nor deny she was there. And then on December 5th, she told me that she left. So she did not go to Senecor or rehab. Also on Liam, he will be going to speech therapy at Happy ISD. It's their early intervention preschool program. That's what his speech therapist at WT suggested that he supplemented with before he was able to start back at his normal WT clinic. So he also doesn't need occupational therapy. So
He does not.
right.
What was this, like some kind of like a little Christmas bulb or something?
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of those little Christmas bulb lights that are like on the trees.
All right, but he's okay.
Yeah, they said he would pass it out or pass it through in his stool. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Has mom made any other progress with services?
No, she did get a car. So.
Okay. All right. And I think I read that you had mailed Mr. Tidwell a parenting packet.
Yes.
Have you received anything back?
No, I put in there I spoke to him last month. We were talking on the phone monthly, and he wished to not speak to me anymore. So.
Okay. All right.
And Judge St. Francis is requesting that this be set for an early final.
But see, the goal has been changed from reunification to adoption.
Can I say something?
Yeah, just give me just a minute, Ms. Long, and we'll get to you.
Okay.
Okay, so Ms. Peoples, is that correct? Goal has been changed?
Yes, ma'am, it has.
And is that due to lack of participation in services?
Yes, it is.
All right, and is there a continuing danger for Liam to be returned home to either parent?
Yes.
Okay, and it's impossible to return him to his father?
Correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hill?
Judge, Ms. Long tells me that she had been homeless and for the last 6 months, and that's why she has not participated in services. She tells me she has turned the corner, though, as Ms. Peoples indicated. Ms. Long does now have a car, which is going to help her greatly. It's pretty hard to live in our society when you're on foot. So she is making some strides. She does want to start working services. She now has some ability to work some services based on the fact that she's now mobile. She's also asking for a little bit more help from CPS. She's kind of indicated that she feels like she's on her own and trying to do this all by herself and not getting the help that she needs to get her services done. But so with respect to the state's request for an early final, we'd ask that you hold off on that and let Ms. Long have an opportunity now to participate since she is finally getting herself back on her feet from being homeless.
Ms. Long, where are you living?
I currently live with my mother in Canyon. My mother moved from out of state to kind of help me get my son back, and we were trying to get CPS has requested a medical form for her ability to take care of him, but because she just moved from out of state, she doesn't have a normal doctor, and they don't want to, the one she's seeing doesn't want to give her a letter stating that they know that she can take care of him because there isn't a patient-doctor relationship formed yet. So I decided I was just going to move in with her so I can get on my feet and get some of the services done and get a job and get my own place and go from there.
All right. So where are you as far as drug treatment?
I have 30 days sober today. The day that I went to Senecor, I stayed there for 3 days. I felt very anxiety ridden because they have a detox program, and because I had used previously from going there, they wanted to put me through the detox program, which would have added 15 days, and it was through Christmas, and I was struggling with anxiety, and there was a lot of young people there, and there was like 80 patients, and I felt very anxiety ridden, and I didn't feel like it was going to be good for my mental health, but I still remained sober. Like, they helped kick it into gear. Like, the 3 days sober that I was there, it gave me time to reflect on what I need to do and I need to get my son back. It's kind of ironic. Today, 4 years ago, I found out I was pregnant.
Ms. Peoples, has she done an OSAR?
She has, and she was referred to inpatient rehab at Centacor, followed with outpatient.
So, Ms. Long, what is your plan? Are you going to try to do some sort of long-term outpatient program, or?
That's what I was hoping at, looking at as an outpatient, because the inpatient, it really gives me a lot of anxiety. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I can't breathe, or I'm suffocating, or claustrophobia almost. And it's like people are trying to force something on me. And I know I went to rehab this time last year. I was in rehab, and I know the steps that I need to take, and I've been putting them into practice. And I went to a couple of AA meetings and NA meetings, and I'm finding out where more are. And then I found this app that has millions of meetings on it all around the world. And I'm reaching out to try to create a support group of some sort.
Well, the best
But,
way
I
to
mean-
do that is to get involved in a specific program.
Right.
So, Ms. Peoples, what are her options as far as any intensive outpatient?
I mean, I really think she needs to do inpatient, to be honest. I mean, you
I
know,
understand. I mean, I understand, but she's basically telling us she doesn't want to do it.
I mean, I will if I really have to. Like, I have to. I mean, this is my son. I can't just not do something. I understand that. It's just the Centacor wasn't right for me. If I could just have a little bit of time to find the right rehab that will actually center on like me as like one patient, not as a group, that's what I would like to do.
So what intensive outpatient programs could we have her look at?
I'll definitely be looking. I don't know any off the top of my head right now, but I mean, we gotta get her in something.
Ms. Simpson, you got any help today?
Around here, the only thing that I really know is Centacor. Rochelle, there's also a place in Dallas, and I know that it's inpatient, but it's called Nexus, but it's completely, you are the one that has to call, and you are, it has nothing to do with us. It is all you. And sometimes that makes a difference whenever it's your choice to go. And I've had a lot of people rave about that place. So
it's a great program.
Yes, it is.
What about Serenity? Does that work for St. Francis?
Rochelle, she's been at Serenity before. I'm pretty sure that's the one she's talking about, right, Rochelle, that you were at last year?
Correct.
Nothing wrong with it, but she'd already been.
Well, if you've been sober for 30 days, then I'm willing to look at you just getting into an intensive outpatient program.
Okay.
But I mean, something that's a longer term program is long, because that's where you're going to have your best odds, your best chance of success.
Or I'd really like to find like a year program, at least, if not, 2 or 3, but I'd like to be able to build a support system that'll be there so that this doesn't happen again. Like I'm not a long-term drug user. I just, 2017 was the first time I've ever done it. And then I was sober for 3 of those years. The day I found out I was pregnant, and I was sober for 3 years, and I just recently relapsed last year. And it's just crazy how addiction affects different roles of people in life, because I never thought I would be an addict.
There's also a place called My Next Step Intensive Outpatient Program. I've never had any like personal experience with it with clients, but I just Googled it, and it's got 5 stars on it. So it's at 4515 Cornell Street, Rochelle. And most of these, I believe, since we had an OSAR and they suggested that you go to Centacor, a lot of these you're going to have to call and make the first step yourself.
Okay.
I know that My Next Step, I think, is female based.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a program for women.
Mm-hmm.
It's small, as long as you're not going to have probably as many people as what were involved at Centacor.
I'll look it up. I'll do some research.
I'm familiar with it just because I know who founded it. So I think it's a good program if they can accept you. I would be good with that.
And Judge, the St. Francis is requesting hair follicle and UA drug screening today to see what those levels are, and the UA to see if it's clean today.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Nowak, anything to report today?
No, Judge, other than I'm going to echo Mr. Hill's request that we hold off on setting this early. my guy's doing what he can while he's in prison, and he can't. There's not a whole lot he can do. So, and I recognize that his release date is beyond the 6-month extension. I'm going to ask for at the next hearing, but I would just echo Jeff's sentiments that we not set this early. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Liam is doing great in placement. He is a very, very active little boy, and it was essentially nonverbal and had a lot of behavior issues. They've put lots of things into place to help with that. They've got kind of a visual schedule of his day that helps him kind of see what the next step's going to be. They very good about giving him choices on things to do. It's calmed down the behavior drastically. I mean, just a very significant difference. He's really working on ASL and has lots of words that he can communicate that way, in addition to the speech therapy. So placement is on top of getting him all the different therapies that he needs, and he has shown really good improvement. So I do recommend that this placement continue. My position is to the final hearing. My thought is to go ahead and set it as a final, and if mom's doing what she needs to, then we move it at that time. And I would have no objection to moving it if she was working services at that time.
Okay, well, I agree with Ms. Zavala, and I think everybody knows that this court will routinely, if I set an early final, that I will, vacate that if parent or parents are doing what they need to be doing and we're making progress. So I'm going to set the April 16th date, April 16th of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket as the final. I mean, and that's enough months away that we're going to know whether, Ms. Long's really, really, really working hard on her services or not. I am going to order her to go drug screen for us today, hair and UA. And I'm going to order her to get enrolled, get signed up for a long-term outpatient program, whether it's Next Step or whether it's something else. As long, I probably have said this to you already, but all of these services are important because they're designed to help you with different things. But the fact of the matter is, if you can't stay away from drugs, the rest of them don't matter much, because I cannot send a child back into a home where there's active drug use. So, it's the most important thing that you need to do. It's not the only thing, but it's probably the most important. And all these other services revolve around helping you maintain sobriety by achieving stability in your life. Most people who are successful in recovery are successful because they have found some kind of stability to their life, whether that's support system, that's a job, their home, their, just their overall well-being revolves around that stability. So you've got an addiction problem, you've had homelessness, so you've had, there are several things here that we have to address and be sure that you're on top of.
Right. Well, now that I'm living with my mom, I can, shower, rest, eat, do my laundry. I can do things that I couldn't do when I was homeless. And being homeless, your day gets consumed with the daily needs that you don't even have time to do anything else but survive.
And I understand that. But what we also have to see is that you can do this on your own.
Yep, I know this too.
I think you're in a good place. I'm not saying that your decision to be with your mom right now is a bad one. I think it's a good decision. But part of the next several months is going to be demonstrating that stability that I'm talking about. Not only sobriety, but stability. So
okay.
I just want to be clear about what you need to do. Okay. Then for today, I'm going to find that it would be a continuing and ongoing danger to send the child home. I obviously can't send the child to dad. I find the department to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family, and we just haven't been able to do that yet. So we'll keep working on it. We will set that early final April 16th, and I'll see you all back then, and we'll take a look at how things are going. All right. And the drug testing and everything else that I already said. So, okay. We're here today on a review hearing. Thank you very much. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming. Ms. Taylor's making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the department. The St. Francis Permanency Specialist today is Haley Grissom.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Donnell Obert.
Kenner Alco for one of the alleged fathers, William Crutcherson, present and ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala for Grace.
All right, and Mr. Morales is in another court, and Mr. Taylor has not been released to come back to work yet on medical leave, so I'm not expecting either of them. So what do we have new since the court report was filed?
The only new thing that has been going on is the unsupervised visits. They've been going really good. Mom and Grace have had two 2-hour visits, 2 4-hour visits, and a 6-hour visit so far. They've all gone really well. There's another one scheduled for Thursday this week, I believe, an 8-hour one. Besides that, everything is the same as in the court report.
Okay. And I was thinking, did I see we had a target date for placement?
Yes, so we're scheduled to do the placement on January 15th following a weekend visit.
Okay. So if we kind of got some of the impediments out of the way, or are we still working on some of those things?
As far as like her making sure she has a plan for transportation and things with Grace, she has been working hard. Mom has been working hard to figure out how to handle all these. She talked to her domestic violence support group leader, and they're going to do individual sessions instead of group. That way she can bring Grace with her. And she's also working on the same type of things with all her other services. And I think she's wanting to switch to doing online NA meetings. She feels like that would be good because she wouldn't have to worry about Grace's, anybody watching Grace. She also does a Bible recovery meeting on Wednesday night that she has plans for. Lori Stone, the lady that we did the home study on, if we needed a placement, she's going to be watching her during that time. So she's working hard figuring that out. The only thing is about daycare. She wants Grace to be in daycare full time when she comes back, which would be fine. We could provide that through DFPS for a amount of time. But right now she's unemployed and she's not going to school, but she's planning on trying to get those things working. So if she's able to get that in place, then I can send in a request for daycare to help with that. Now, getting her back and forth to daycare, I'm not sure how she would handle that yet. And I don't know that she has a plan for that quite yet.
And Miss Grissom, I'm sorry, I'm a little late to the game here and trying to flip through stuff. Is Miss Obert's visitation, is it supervised or unsupervised at this time?
It moved to unsupervised during the last week of November.
Okay. And then you are looking at placing in the home when?
January 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Miss Aven, are you thinking, are you going to try to work part-time and go to school part-time, or what's the plan?
Yeah, one or the other. I just have to, I have a meeting, or I have a meeting scheduled with my advisor at the school. I'm just kind of trying to decide what would be better at this point. I'll either be doing classes or I'll be working. I also have an interview coming up for a job as well. So.
Okay. Well, just, that January 15th date's going to roll around in a hurry.
Yes, ma'am, I know. Yeah, I'm, if I have, I may just, I do have Social Security disability, so I do have a steady income and I am able to cover my bills. So if I need to wait till the summer semester to start, and I have things a little more situated, I think that would be okay too. But hopefully I can figure it out by then. Usually I'm able to. I just kind of came up fast, so.
Okay.
The great thing about it, Your Honor, is she has a great support system.
Thank you.
She has friends that are willing to help her, and they're good friends and sober friends. So she surrounded herself with a good crew.
Okay. All right. That's good to hear. Okay.
My recovery family and my church family are more than supportive, and I am generally able to get wherever I need to go at any time. So.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Morales has joined us, so I'll show that he is present. Okay, then Mr. Naranjo.
Ms. Grissom, has there been any progress in locating any of the alleged fathers or having any contact with them?
No, there has not.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Morales.
No, I believe Ms. Naranjo covered my question, Your Honor. I have no question.
All right, sir. Okay, Ms. Zavala.
So Haley, it sounds like there's been some good progress since you and I talked about 3 weeks ago or so. At that time, was Mom expressing some concern about whether she could actually handle this?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, it is a lot, and she is working hard on a plan, but it is a lot to go from not having her at home to having Grace at home and not having a vehicle, not being able to drive, and just kind of working out the logistics of everything. I think it's a little scary, but she's handling it the best she can.
Okay. So back a few weeks ago when you and I talked, it was sounding like Mom's plan was to have Grace go and spend just about every weekend with Lori. Is that right?
So she has expressed to me that she would like Grace to spend every other weekend with Lori, just to give her some time to, I don't know, she might be better able to answer that question, but to just give her her own time, I guess.
Just to continue my recovery, really. Sorry.
So originally, when you and I talked, we thought the plan was every single weekend, correct?
Yes, and after speaking to her again, I think that I misunderstood that. She was talking about every other weekend, which is still a lot for her child to spend, every other weekend with someone else. And it isn't something that we would do. She would do that on her own after we're dismissed. We aren't comfortable with her going to Lori's every other weekend while we're involved.
Okay. And then back a few weeks ago, it sounded like the plan that Mom had was not to be working, but to have Grace in daycare during the day. Is that correct?
Yes, I think she's always been kind of looking for work. Like, that's what she's expressed to me, is she's always kind of on the hunt for a job, but it's gone back and forth. On some days she's looking for employment more actively, I think. And then other times she's more focused on school and taking some classes to get her certifications in some design, in a design area, I believe. So she has gone back and forth about the long-term plan, whether she wants to work or go to school or both.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have met with Donnell and her friend, Miss Laurie, in my office. And Miss Laurie is pretty much willing to help, whether it be at Donnell's or whether it be at her house. She's willing to pitch in and help. Everyone wants to make this work for Mom.
Well, I think it's kind of like respite care. I mean, it's a good plan to have that when you need it. So if Miss O'Barry, if you're drawing Social Security, I mean, are you limited in how much you can work?
Yeah, it's quite a lot though. So I don't ever. I mean, I can make up to $800 a month without it making my disability go away. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't think of the word.
Okay. All right. Ms. Zavala, anything else?
No, Your Honor. I got to see Grace in person. Grace is adorable, always has been. My only concern, I love that Donnell is creating a good support system. It was a little bit of concern to me when it kind of sounded like we were talking about reunifying the child, but that mom kind of felt like she wasn't quite ready yet, and that it sounded like it was going to be daycare during the day and every weekend with somebody else. And so I agree. It is amazing to have people that are willing to step up for you. And it sounds like either I misunderstood that information or that information has changed. So I think it's really important to strike a good balance of, she's being reunified to mom. And so for mom to be hands-on with the extra support. And I'm glad she's got that. But it was kind of a red flag for me a few weeks ago, feeling like we're returning her, but possibly returning to someone else, but it sounds like we're moving in a great direction. And it sounds like those issues are being taken care of.
All right, well, I'm going to continue the department as temporary manager conservator, and I'll continue child's current placement. We'll move forward with the reunification plan as long as, things continue to go well, and as long as we're comfortable that we have a complete plan. Our final is scheduled for February 27th of 2024. That's on a 9 o'clock docket. Guess we'll see at that point in time what we're going to need to do, because that's going to be very close to reunification. So, obviously it'll either mean extension or monitored return or something. But we can talk about that later. Okay. Then I'll see y'all back then. And Ms. Rivera, hope this all goes well. Actually, this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the Department, the St. Francis Permanency Specialist today is Story Cook.
Stacey Grant for the respondent, Father Daniel Perez, and I'm ready.
Savannah Kincaid for Miss Alvarez. I'm present. My client, I don't anticipate her. I haven't had contact with her.
Stacey Zavala for me.
Okay, and Ms. Kincaid, Ms. Alvarez is not logged in. She's not in my waiting room, so just for the record, so you know. Okay. All right, what do we have new since our court report was filed?
So I don't believe I put it in the court report because I did it right before. Daniel was having unsupervised visits with Mia until I got a hair follicle back showing
objection to any entrance of any drug screens, Your Honor. Results only.
Okay, sustained. You want me to swear her in as a witness?
No, I don't mind her stating concerns if she had them, just not results, Judge. I'd be happy with that.
Judge, this is a review hearing. I think if there's going to be objections, then swear in the witness and have her question. Otherwise, in review hearings, Judge, we give results all the time. We don't have a burden of proof of beyond a reasonable, or even of a clear and convincing. Judge, we're here on basically what I would consider something as a revocation hearing in which hearsay is allowed. And so this is what we do on all of these hearings, Judge.
Well, and the fact of the matter is I've read the report, so court already knows. But I'm happy to swear her in if we're going to take objections. If we're going to have an evidentiary hearing, then we need to swear her in. So you want me to swear her in, Ms. Grant?
No, Your Honor. I'm not. I have not scheduled enough time today for an evidentiary hearing. I'm already 20 minutes late to something else. So.
Okay, and I apologize that we're behind. So.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That happens.
Okay. Well, let's just move forward. So I know
it's in the report, Your Honor, and if the court's read the submitted report, I would withdraw the objection because it's already in. It's already in.
Okay. All right. Okay, you can proceed, Ms. Cook.
Okay. We were having unsupervised. They did get canceled due to the drug screen. I did talk to Daniel about it. He was unaware why it would show positive. So we were going to request another hair follicle today, and maybe we'll get a different result. He can have supervised visits. The foster parents have been willing to work with him and supervise those for him if he's able to make it to Mia, which I know it's kind of a drive. So other than that, unsupervised visits were going very well when they were happening. Mia's been very comfortable with Mr. Perez. I have not been able to get in contact with Mom here recently. I did send her the link for today and tried to call her. That's about all.
You were having some contact with her, it sounded like.
Yes, yeah. She doesn't have actual phone service. I think she just works over Wi-Fi, or phone does. So communication is here and there.
Okay. All right. Has she completed any services?
She has completed her psychosocial and I believe has set up her counseling, continuing with the same person who did the psychosocial. But that is all.
And have you had better contact with her since the other child was removed?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Kincaid, anything to report today?
Your Honor, this is a new case for me. I think I got this from Ms. Ratliff. Since I've received the case, we've tried to contact my client. I've never been able to make contact with her. So if there's any new phone numbers or addresses, I'd appreciate if the department or St. Francis could pass that along to me.
Is she still living with the aunt, Ms. Cook?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Does the aunt have telephone?
I do not have that phone number. I can try to see if I can find it.
Okay, I just wondered if Ms. Kincaid might be able to reach her through the aunt.
Okay.
Okay, well, Ms. Kincaid, we'll get you what we've got, I guess.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah. All right, and Ms. Grant, anything on behalf of Mr. Perez today? And then I've got just a couple questions for him.
Sure. No, Your Honor. Really, we appreciate the opportunity to repeat the hair follicle, as the result was unexpected to him. And since the courts read the report, the UAs have been consistent in this case. And should there still be an issue upon repeating the test, he's in agreement to take an OSAR assessment, which I believe the department would be requesting should there be an additional issue with the repeat of that test. But other than that, I tender my client for anything the court would like to talk to him about.
Mr. Perez, my question is just simply, have you been around people that were using?
Yeah, I was, and maybe that could have been where that came from. But it was like it was a one-time thing, I guess, and I guess I just need to straighten that out and do better.
Well, I mean, that's just not the environment that we really want you around.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not ever.
So I'm going to send you to do another hair test, and let's see. I mean, your UAs have been negative. I mean, so let's just do both. That way we've got, or I don't know when the last UA was done. Maybe we don't need to do another UA. Maybe we just need the hair. But
okay.
The UA was November. The last hair was, I believe, November 29th, but I don't have the UA date. I believe it's October, Your Honor.
Let's just do both.
Okay.
Can I ask where the hair was taken from? Was it taken from the head?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes that matters, and so that's I just wanted to.
Okay. Well, let's do it again and see what turns up. Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, Mia is doing great. She's transitioning to a toddler bed, but she's doing very well in placement, and I do recommend that continue at this time.
I want Dad's visits to continue, even though they're supervised. But things were going really well, and then we got to suddenly pull back, and that's very concerning to me if we're going to start forward again. So. I'm very happy and thank the foster parents for their cooperation, and so that we, I don't want to lose ground, I guess is what I'm saying. So they're still getting to see each other. He's still getting to interact. It's just they're there super rushed. So
Can I ask one follow-up question, Judge, before
Sure.
Just for clarification, Ms. Cook, was Daniel Perez complying with services prior to the drug screen?
Yes, he's completed everything I've asked him to do.
Okay, Judge, I'm going to go ahead and mark that he's complied, and Ms. Branch has already indicated that he will, if this screen comes back positive, that he will comply with the OSAR. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that he's complied with services.
Okay. Yeah, I think clearly he has. So
okay.
And Mr. President, I mean, I'll just say, does it concern me? Yeah, it concerns me, but it's been the one hiccup, and so
Yeah, I understand.
I all I can just say is just be careful who you're spending your time with.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'll order him to do the hair and UA before 4 o'clock today. Mr. Perez, can you get there today? Let me just be sure of that.
I probably won't be able to go today because I have to get right back to work. I could go any other time this week.
Can you go by noon tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I could try.
Well, try doesn't cut it. I mean,
Yeah, I will.
I gotta know.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So before noon tomorrow.
But I'm afraid, like, since this barely went and did the hair test, I'm afraid that what if they come back the same? Since it, like, in the hair, it stays in, like, when the hair do hair test, I guess it stays in your hair for a while. Or
It does.
goes back certain months.
It does, but the levels drop unless there's been an ongoing use.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand.
So, okay. Okay, then I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement, and find that there would be a continuing ongoing danger to send the child home today. But I find that dad is in compliance and we're working in the right direction. So I will see everybody back February 29th of 2024 at 9 a.m. That's our final. So we'll kind of see where we're at that point. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Morales,
Thank
it doesn't look like you're being
Thank
very
you, Jeff.
safe driving down the road there. And now you're messing with your phone.
All right. I'm almost where I need to be.
We are here today in each case on review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the department. The St. Francis Permanency Specialist today is once again Tori Cook.
Ken Arajo for the mother, Alexandria Vasquez. I'm present and ready, and she's present as well.
Gary Morales for respondent Father Calvin Sams, Your Honor. He is present. We are ready.
Stacy Zavala for the kids.
Janelle Garrett with CASA.
And just for the record, Ms. Vasquez, who's present with you?
It's Christopher Jackson.
Okay. All right. What do we have new, Ms. Cook?
We have had Christopher Jackson has completed his psychosocial. No further recommendations from that provider for him. All the kids are doing very well in the home. We have gotten them to their medical exams, so they're up to date and current on those. Don't believe anything else outside of the court report.
Okay.
Ms. Cook, is Ms. Vasquez complying with services?
Yes, she has completed all services.
Okay, and is Mr. Sims complying with services?
Yes. Oh, yes. So he has started his BIP courses. As of yesterday, he's done 6 of the 18 courses.
Okay, and you said Ms. Vasquez has completed services. What is the plan in regards to reunification? Where is St. Francis at with that?
So all children have returned home.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they've all been home since Aven was placed back the 14th of August, and the other 3 were placed back the 30th of August. Everything has been going well in the home.
Okay.
So at this point, we're just trying to get Mr. Sam's, get his services wrapped up and monitor kids in the home, mom.
Yes. I believe we were planning on dismissing the Eisenman case today.
All right, and we'll come back to that in just a minute.
Judge, I was looking at that, and Eisenman said a final hearing be set, but in glancing through, father's rights have already been terminated on this. And
Right.
so there would be nothing further to do in regards to a final order on Eisenman. So
Right, that's what that's what I had thought, and I was just going back to look, and that's what I showed. Yeah. All right, Ms. Naranjo.
Yes, Judge, I was also going to bring up that I was going to request that the Eisenman case be dismissed because the child's been in the home for about 4 months now. There's been really no significant issues. I have talked to Ms. Vasquez about Ms. Zavala and Casa's concerns about school for the oldest child, Aven, and she said she's going to work with him on doing homework and making sure that he has better attendance with school. So hoping to relieve that issue. And I do think for the Sam's case, given that we have a final coming up in February, that it may be suitable to go to mediation.
Not only suitable, but now is required if we've got all of our parties, and we do. So I would like you all to do that. Okay, Ms. Zavala, as far as, well, I'm sorry, let me hang on just a minute. Mr. Morales, on the Sam's case.
Yes, Your Honor. As Ms. Naranjo kind of alluded to, as far as mediation, this with the kids being placed with the mother and Mr. Sam's having done most of his services, this has kind of come more akin to your typical suit affecting in a department case. We got to figure things out between mom and dad. I will say, as for Mr. Sam's, he has completed, I believe, all of his services except for a bit, which of course takes quite a bit of time. He was incarcerated for a little while at the beginning of this, and so it did take him a little bit to get things started. But I have to say that he's hit the ground running and did as well as anyone as I've seen. With that being said, Judge, I know he's had some concerns with placement, or well, I guess just with things that have gone on as far as he says the kids show up sometimes with not appropriate clothing for as cold as it is during the visitation. He's worried about Mrs. Vasquez's dependency on Mr. Jackson. And I believe, I can't remember what it is. I talked to him last week, and I can't remember what his other concern is, but if I can go ahead and call him, Your Honor, and he can elaborate. Mr. Sims, you and I spoke last week, and you had listed, I believe, 3 concerns you had. And if I'm inaccurate on what I relayed to the court, please correct me and also let me know if you have any additional concerns.
The only additional concern that I had was that Willow was showing up with rashes and markings on her. But other than that, everything seems to be going pretty smoothly.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
She's 2. We have explanation. What kind of rash are we talking about?
Multiple times she came with diaper rashes, and then there was one instance where it was it looked like eczema, so I just kind of thought that it was eczema because she'd had that rash once before, but normally it takes quite a bit of something happening for it to come back into play.
Did you talk to the child's mother about it?
I'm not allowed to contact, so I just relayed through the caseworker.
That's right. I forgot. Okay. Well, I think, there are always going to be communication issues, and I think part of mediation would be a good way to figure out how these parents are going to communicate and co-parent moving forward. And, I know there's some innovative techniques out there for that. It's there's an app for that. But I think there really are apps for that now. There's some very, I think helpful things if we can, and everybody just kind of think outside of the box and creatively. So Ms. Zavala?
Yes, Your Honor. I have visited with the kids in the home, we talked a little bit about the school issue. I know there was a lot of kids being sick earlier, I feel like that's going to be taken care of going forward. We did talk about that even though Aven is just a little guy with little guy homework right now, to kind of set that tone and help him with that can help set that tone for the rest of school. The kids seemed good. They seemed very comfortable in the home, and cooking up a tasty smelling dinner that I was wanting to join in. But I had no concerns seeing the kids in the home. I was glad that they have limited the number of dogs in the house. I know in the past that has been an issue, and so I do think that is helpful. And I really have no objection at this point to dismissing Avian's case. And I do feel like we've got some room for some successful negotiation and mediation on the other case.
Okay.
Judge, if I may, if I may add, I had passed Mr. Sams. I didn't know if you were asking Ms. Zavala if she had questions of him. I did want to ask, if no one else has any other questions of Mr. Sams, he would like, given his significant and quick progress, he would like some increased visits. I mean, he'd love as much as a standard possession order, but I understand that might be a bit of a stretch. But Your Honor, he would like as much visits as possible. He's done a very good job on the services.
Your Honor, if I may, I would object to that request. Part of your prior orders was that Mr. Sams needed to provide a clean drug screen on marijuana in order to have an increased visitation, to move to unsupervised visitation. And up to this point, he's failed to provide that.
Okay, what I actually ordered was we could increase his visitation, but there would be no overnight visits until we had a negative drug test. So what is he getting right now?
So we've had a lot of staff move around. He was receiving 4 hours weekly supervised visits. These last couple of weeks, I believe it's only been 2 hours due to support workers having to move things around and working with Mr. Sam's schedule as well. But we still have on the schedule that he will be having 4 hours weekly. We wanted to see more progress in the BIP courses before we moved to unsupervised.
How far is he into the BIP?
6 out of 18.
You've been in his home?
Yes.
And is it appropriate for the kids?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Sams, if I sent you the drug screen today, what would it show?
It would still show positive just due to it not being a full couple weeks since the last time.
Well, I mean, are you still actively using marijuana?
I'm using the stuff that you can buy at the smoke shop.
Well, yeah, the problem it presents for me is it's still illegal in the state of Texas. You know, I mean, now I don't know what you're buying. If it's what we talked about before, you've been using what, Delta 8 or something?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's called THC something now.
But we talked about that, and I thought you were going to cease using that. I mean, how much of that do you use daily?
I don't know, a couple puffs every now and then. I normally just buy one of the vapes. It's got like 2 grams in it, I think. Lasts normally about 3-4 weeks.
What kind of, I mean, the last thing, and then I also had a note that you were working 2 jobs. So, I mean, how much time do you have during the week that you could spend with kids? I mean, and obviously, you know, we don't have anybody in school.
Well, I only work 1 job right now, and it's overnights 4 days a week.
Okay, well, you know, I would like for you to start some unsupervised visits, but, you know, I don't really want you vaping with the kids around.
I mean, I never did it around the kids in the first place. I always would go somewhere else outside or somewhere.
100% promise me that?
100%.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bump his visits up to unsupervised. Still not going to be overnight, but he can certainly have the 4 hours unsupervised. I'm trying to think how what's best, as far as with the ages of the kids. I mean, Mr. Sams, do you want that all at one time? Do you want to split that up during the week, or?
I would like to have all of it together, just because if it's broken up into 2 hours, it kind of just feels like most of it's, prep time or getting them ready, things like that.
I hear you. All right, so let's do this. Do you work? So you would have some days during the week that you could have the kids like during the daytime?
Yes, Your Honor. I work Saturday through Tuesday overnights.
Okay. So is like Thursday a good day for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Willow receives ECI on Thursday, and I believe the twins are about to start receiving that as well. So I'm not sure if Thursday would be the best day.
Friday? Mr. Sams, could you do Friday?
Friday works as well.
Okay, then how are we going to do the exchange of the kids, Ms. Cook? I'm going to let him have 6 hours with the kids on Fridays.
I know Alex and Calvin can't see each other, so either they can meet, Christopher Jackson can meet Calvin, or if I am available to be there at drop off if they want to meet at the office to exchange the kids.
If you can't be there, is there somebody else that can be there?
Yes, I have a support worker who could be there.
Okay, Ms. Vasquez, you had a question.
Yes, I just had, I was just trying to say the same thing, that Thursdays would not work at all because of the ECI, at all. And then I was gonna say, I would rather the visits be in one because it would take a lot of stress off of me instead of having to split them up in two.
Well, it's better quality time for the children. So let's try it out and see how it works on Fridays.
Okay.
6 hours. So I don't care, if y'all want to say, I'll let y'all pick the time, Mr. Sams, what time of day you want to pick them up. But
and also Chris can take them, like he can meet them, but if Calvin's gonna get a visit, it's gonna have on Fridays, it's gonna have to be before 8 o'clock because Chris has to go to work and he has to take Aven to school. I don't drive. I don't have a car. I can't drive because of my epilepsy. So the only one that drives here is Chris. So in order for it to work, the visit would have to start really early in the day. Unless Tori could come in, but I know that that's not like always feasible for her.
The only issue with me getting the kids is if I don't get a car from St. Francis, I cannot fit all three of them in my personal vehicle.
Well, so if Mr. Jackson is willing to meet for the drop off, then what time you need to do that? Like at what time Friday mornings?
It'd probably be around 7:50.
Yeah, because I drop off Aven like 7:30, 7:35 for school.
And then you go straight to work?
Yeah, and I usually go straight to work after that.
Where I know you work for the city, but what facility do you go to? Where do you actually go for work?
It's the Sims building downtown, so it's not far from the City Hall building. It's 808 South Buchanan Street.
So, Mr. Sams, could you just pick up there at just a little bit before 8 o'clock?
That would be fine.
Okay, well I'm asking y'all, will that work?
It would work for us because as long as he's, like I said, if Mr. Sams is available like on Saturday or Sunday in the morning, that'd be like a little bit better, and he, didn't have to get the kids up so early. Like right now, we're not having to worry about because Avian's off for 2 weeks for Christmas break. But after that, that's where the problem kind of arises.
Yeah, I understand. But it's not a perfect world.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No, like I said, if he can come at that'd be perfect at the building, but if he is available on the weekends early, like in the morning, that would probably be easier.
Well, okay. I mean, I was trying to pick a weekday because of having the Department of St. Francis or somebody involved. So,
okay.
If it works, I don't know. Mr. Sams, could you do Saturdays?
I would rather not do one of the days that I also work, just because that would have me being upwards of almost 24 hours by the time I get off work.
Yeah, which was one reason why I was again trying to. I think let's just try Fridays.
Okay.
I know it'll be early, but let's shoot for Fridays, and he'll meet Mr. Jackson downtown. Do you know where to go, Mr. Sams? Do you know where he's talking about?
You can just.
I'm not familiar.
The Tune Totem.
Well, no, you can meet me at the XL parking garage downtown, or the Tune Totem that's right there. We can meet at the Tune Totem. It's right off Cannon Street.
Yeah, that's probably best. Let's just say Tootin' Totem that's there right here downtown.
10th and Buchanan.
Also,
Tune Totem right there.
Also, do you have your own car seats? Are you going to need ours?
I have my own car seats.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that works.
Okay.
Judge, and I hate to be the guy that throws a good deal off, but we'll probably still have a bit of an issue. I'm assuming Mr. Jackson is going to work past 2 o'clock on Friday. So if it's a 6-hour visit, I don't know how that's necessarily going to work.
He can
that he can avoid Ms. Vasquez.
He can take his break, and they can meet at that Tootin' Totem again.
Yeah.
At 2?
Yeah.
That'd be 6 hours.
You can meet him at that Tootin' Totem. He'll take his lunch break. He'll come drop the kids off and then pick up Aven from school.
Yeah,
and Your Honor, I'm not at all trying to step on the court's toes, but if it is easier and the court's willing for Mr. Jackson just to wait until he gets off of work, so he's not trying to scramble and do all that on a break, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Sams would appreciate the extra 3 or 4 hours with the kids, and just he could have them all day Friday, if that's better for Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, what works better for you?
I could work with. I mean, it's either. I can easily take my break at 2. That's no problem, honestly. And I can bring the kids back. Or you can say at 3. We could go get an extra hour at 3, because that's whenever I leave to go ahead and pick up Aven from school, usually. So like at 3 o'clock, that's the same route I take. That right there by my work. To do the exchange of kids. Right after I pick up the kiddos, I can go get Aven from school, who's also not too far away, and it's one circuit back to the house. So
okay.
And I'm sure if it helps, I'm sure Mr. Sams can meet him at Aven school if that's to help Mr. Jackson, so he's not scrambling so much.
Actually, no, it'd be better to meet at Tune Totem. It's very hectic by that school, actually.
Okay, so we're gonna pick up and drop off at the Tootin' Totem at 10th and Buchanan at a little bit before 8 in the morning, and then at 3.
Yes, 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I already have that set aside in my work schedule every day, so it's no problem.
Okay. All right. That sounds like that'll work. Okay. All right then. So I will dismiss the Eisenman case today. And I'm going to just say the same thing that Ms. Zavala did. You know, I understand he's just 5, but trust me, he is developing lifelong habits right now. So you got to get that schoolwork done, and he needs to be in school unless he's really sick. He needs to be there and on time. Okay.
Also, Also, the thing about school, like the school is, Aven had like 2 of the days that they are going to go ahead and excuse them, but he was suspended from school. But since I went and picked him up, like, just so I can talk to him, like they didn't the reception didn't put an excuse as excused. So they're going to go ahead and fix that as well. Because sometimes he has really, really bad days where he's hitting teachers and, hitting other kids, and where he's not doing really well with, schoolwork. So we're trying to get him into habit. We did get him back into counseling as well. He's going to see Jennings. Also, I did want to speak up about the fact about like the rashes and stuff. We did have another investigation placed on us from someone calling in, and they dropped it. There was nothing wrong with the kids. They're just regular baby stuff. And any little injury, anything that I see that can be a problem, I always report it to Tori and send her pictures.
Okay. All right, then, on the Sam's case, then I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I'll continue placement with mom. Find parents are in compliance with their service plans. And I will see you all back February 29th of 2024 for the final. And obviously, I'm going to order you to mediation.
Did you say February 29th, Your Honor?
It's February 29th. Leap year. February 29th of 2024. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, Your Honor.
Thanks, y'all too. This has been High Maintenance Review Day.
Erin Sessions is going to jump on at some point. I don't know if she's already in
We
or
are
not.
here today set for our adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. All right, we'll take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present, ready to proceed. It's my understanding that the alleged father, Christopher Morphus, is in agreement with the department being named temporary managing conservator. He is requesting genetic testing in regards to the child. And during testimony, we do have a request of the court in regards to an order for the father.
Okay.
General for the mother, Desiree Casillas. I have had no contact with my client. She had told my office that she was going to be present here today, but she is not. For that reason, I'd request a continuance.
Has she been served?
Let me double check. I don't believe so, Judge, but let me check.
I'll pull it up too.
I was in the process of doing that and got distracted by a new form from the department. Citation was issued on, it appears, December 6th. However, I do not see that she has been served at this point in time. She did, on December 11th, fill out the paperwork for a court-appointed attorney, but there is no service.
All right. Ms. Naranjo, she's logging in. Good.
There we go. Problem solved.
Problem solved. All right, Ms. Casillas, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with your attorney so that you can speak privately with her for a few minutes. Recess on this case, and it was reset to today. It was called back on September 21st. And we essentially have taken all our testimony in the case and recessed because we had some outstanding ICWA issues. So we're here today to hopefully be able to wrap this up. So we'll go ahead and take announcements from everybody.
Okay. Melinda Powell for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I am present filling in for Daniel Trout.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Joanna McKinley. I have not been in contact with her. I have tried, and I did send her this link 4 days ago.
Your Honor, I'm Tate Eldridge. I represent the father, Douglas McKinley, and I've not heard from him the entire case. So.
Stacy Zabella on behalf of Dominic.
All right. Ms. Powell, what have we gotten back?
Judge, in regards to the ICWA issue, Kim sent out, she sent out 11 different notices. Those should all have been filed with the court. She does send those out when they're filed. At this time, we have received back 1, 2, 3, 4, or I'm sorry, I'm looking at her notes. I apologize. The tribe has either received it and has not responded. We have had 1, 2, 3 tribes who have responded and have said that there is no Indian heritage, that ICWA does not apply. Kim did send notice to the Bureau of Indian Affairs in Washington, D.C. They did receive that. In July, we've received no response back. And so at this point in time of the 11 notices, we have not received any responses that ICWA would apply to these children. And St. Francis and the department would be comfortable moving forward. We have supplied the appropriate notices.
All right. Then Ms. Archer, any argument in opposition?
No, unfortunately, Your Honor, I think we should proceed just because I haven't heard from my client.
All right. And Mr. Eldridge?
No, I have no objection, John.
All right. And Ms. Zavala?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Motherhead, it was the one I think that had given us, I don't know, it was 10, 11, whatever, however many different potential tribes. Notice was sent to the BIA quite some time ago. I think that the issue was notice hadn't been sent to each of those individual tribes. And so now that has been done, it's been several months, and we've had no response. So at this time, I'll make a finding that the child, Donna, is not an Indian child as covered by ICWA, and we'll proceed to judgment in the case. Let's see.
I will just state for the record, Judge, that the last time I did talk to Mom, which has been several months, she was still of the position that her child had been unfairly taken.
I understand. And since we have been in recess for so long, I will just ask just very quickly, Ms. Brooks, have we had any further proof of services being received by either parent?
No, ma'am. I did send an email on the 8th to Miss McKinley, and she did respond and ask if it was in regards to her child being abducted. And I asked that she call and we could further discuss it, and I have not heard a single thing since then.
All right, so I'm just doing a quick review of my notes. I think the department had proceeded and provided evidence and proved up their request for termination of both parents on the N and the O grounds, and also
Judge, I showed that the service plans were admitted into evidence. I don't show any other exhibits, so that would certainly support the finding that O ground. And based on the information that I'm familiar with this case, I think that would certainly support the N ground.
There is also testimony regarding the D grounds on the mother, and also, I believe, E on the father. Other way around. I'm sorry. D grounds on the father and E on the mother. All right. And Ms. Zavala had given her recommendation. Ms. Zavala, since that significant time has passed, I'm just going to double check with you. Anything regarding your recommendation that you need to change or amend today?
No, Your Honor, that would remain my recommendation. Dominic is thriving in the placement that he's been at since release from NICU, and I do recommend that continue.
All right, then at this time, I will find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and his mother, Joanna McKinley, based on Texas Family Code Section 161-001, the E, N, and O grounds, in the best interest of the child under B2. Likewise, find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and his father, Douglas McKinley, based on Texas Family Code 161-001, subsection D, N, and O grounds, and the best interest of the child under B2. This time, I will name the Department of Family Protective Services as the permanent managing conservator of the child, and I will dismiss all court-appointed attorneys after the appropriate de novo and appellate timeframes expire. Counsel, as always, just be mindful your de novo timeframe does begin to run since I've rendered an open court. And also, if you're instructed to file a notice of appeal, please do not do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. I stated earlier, but just to absolutely clear on the record, I have made a finding that the child is not an Indian child as defined under ICWA. and that what response we did get from the tribes were that it did not apply, and that the Bureau of Indian Affairs has been notified properly in the case. Okay, I appreciate everybody logging back in. Thank you all very much, and we will be adjourned in this case. Ms. Naranjo, were you able to speak with your client yet?
Yes, I was, Judge. I'm just recalling her about to get her in for the hearing. But she is in agreement.
Okay, is she going to be logging in?
She's gonna be on speaker through my phone.
Just okay. Yeah, Amy, we called, we announced. Okay, and we had Mr. Morphus's agreement in request for genetic testing. All right, Ms. Naranjo.
Your Honor, between the recess, I had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Casillas. She's also in agreement to working services for the department, and the department having temporary conservatorship of the child.
Okay. I assume no child support, no medical support.
No, Judge.
And visits will be established with St. Francis.
Yes, Judge. And the request from the department was that the alleged father, Mr. Morphus, be ordered to go drug screen. He has declined to drug screen to date.
Okay. Right, Mr. Morphus, I'm going to order you to go do this drug screens, and there's several reasons for that. Number one, it gives us a baseline if you are using. If you're not using, then it tells us that. It also, when we're talking about visits with an infant, I have to be very cautious for the safety and the child's health to be sure that you're not exposing the child. So particularly with methamphetamines, it can be transferred skin to skin. And that's very, very dangerous for a child this age. I mean, it's dangerous for any child, but it's especially dangerous for a newborn. And so, you know, I need to know where we stand on that issue. So I'm going to order you to go out to Care Express, which is out on South Ross Osage, sort of out there by the Sam's Club, and to drug test before 4 o'clock today. Can you do that? Can you get there today? Okay, you're muted, but I think you're telling me you can.
Yes, ma'am. I'm pretty sure I can get there before 4.
Okay, you need to stay in contact with your caseworker. For some reason, if you can't, we need to, you need to let us know that.
Okay.
So but we'll wait. We'll get those screens back. If your UA is negative, even if your the hair test, and I don't know what we're going to do about hair, because it looks like you don't have a whole lot of head hair. But so I'm primarily interested right now about a negative UA as far as visits are concerned.
Okay.
Okay. Same with the mother. We want current drug screens before we start any kind of in-person contact. So, okay. Then I find the evidence. Well, let me just ask Ms. Zavala, do you think this is in the child's best interest, and do you agree?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. Then I do find the evidence sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator, and will expect parents to work services. There'll be no child support or medical support owed during the pendency of the case unless further order of the court. We'll get visits established once we know it's safe for those to occur. Those could be virtual if we're going to have a delay on getting any other kind of in-person visits. Hard to do with an infant, but at least parents get to see the baby. I do find that it would be a continuing danger to the child to be returned home at this point in time. And I do find that the department has used reasonable efforts to avoid the removal of the child. So now our focus will become on reunification of the family. And we'll talk more about your service plans at the next hearing. I appreciate you showing up today, Mr. Morphus. Thank you very much. And our next hearing date will be February 1st of 2024. And that'll be on Mr. Hammonds. Your client,
I am here.
Yeah, your client was logged in first thing this morning, I guess, and he emailed with Miss Katie. He had to leave to go to work.
Yeah, I talked to him about 30 minutes ago, Judge. I thought he was going to stay with us, but when was the last time he talked to Miss Katie?
I'll let her answer that.
I mean, I could try to call him again right now.
He emailed me at 11:30.
Oh, and he told you he had to go to work, or?
Yeah, he said he had been logged in since 9 and he's at work and he's gonna lose his job if he doesn't check in. So.
Okay, that's fine. I can at least, I mean, I can tell the court, you know, what we've discussed and everything, so.
Okay. I just didn't know whether you felt like you were going to be able to move forward today or if you were going to need to reset this.
Well, I think you'll understand. I mean, based on the conversation I've had with him, I mean, I'll tell you, I guess, what my position is. I mean, I think I can go forward without him. I mean, based on what I've discussed with him.
We are here today on a request for court-ordered services. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Don Aven on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Savannah Kincaid, I represent Miss Neal. We're present and ready. And if it's helpful for the department, my client is in agreement to work services, if that shortens it up for us at all.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kincaid.
Judge T.D. Hammonds representing the father of Dallas. And I guess at this point, well, if Mr. Albee wants to have his caseworker, I guess, give you some information, and then I can kind of tell you what Mr. Rubin's position is.
Okay, does he need to go ahead and call his witness?
I think that would help, Judge.
All right.
Jason Zavala on behalf of the kids.
All right, then, Mr. Albee, who's your first witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Miss Annalise Kendall, and where are they currently living?
They are currently living with their mother, Judea, and Dallas's father, Derek.
And in what community is that?
Can you repeat that?
What community is that? What town?
Amarillo.
Okay. And were you contacted to begin an investigation concerning that family?
Yes, sir.
What were the allegations set forth in that report that asked you to investigate?
I received the report stating that there was a domestic dispute between Judea and Derek.
And when was that report?
It was reported on October 7th.
And when did you make contact, or strike that? Did you make contact with Miss Neal and or Derek Rubin, who's the father to Dallas?
I did, yes.
And when did you make contact with them?
I originally spoke with Judea on November 1st, and then it did take me a little while to get in contact with Derek, and I met with him on November 11th.
And did you discuss the concerns that were the basis for your investigation?
I did.
What was Miss Neal's response to your concerns?
Miss Neal was aware of the concerns, and she agreed that there were concerns. She did state that she plans on residing away from Derek once her lease is up. Once I kind of talked to her about moving forward and different steps, that is when she stated that she was not going to move out of the home until her lease is up due to financial reasons.
Did you discuss with Miss Neal the specifics of the domestic violence?
I did, yes.
And did she acknowledge that there was domestic violence in the home?
She did.
Have you discussed with Miss Neal the possibility of working services through FBS?
I did.
And what specific services do you believe would be positive for Miss Neal in order for the children to remain under her care?
I feel like she would need to reside away from Derek, possibly some counseling, some domestic violence help as well. Those are what I would recommend.
And have you had difficulties maintaining contact with Miss Neal?
I have not.
But in any event, you would require that Miss Neal remain in contact with you?
Yes.
Do you know if she is currently employed?
She says she is, yes.
And you would ask that she continue to be employed?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any concerns about Miss Neal working or having any drug or substance abuse issues?
I do not.
Do you know who the father to Zoe is?
I do not.
but he's not in the house or involved in this situation.
Correct.
You've discussed with Miss Neal about the possibility of separating from Mr. Rubin,
Yes, I have.
and is that still her plan?
From the last I spoke to her about it, yes, that was still her plan.
Do you know when she would have an opportunity to separate from Mr. Rubin?
I believe her lease was up in the March, April time, but I could be wrong on that specific time.
So her plan is continue to reside in the same home with Mr. Rubin until that March or April time period?
Yes.
So we're asking Mr. Rubin to also work some services?
Yes.
Have you talked with Mr. Rubin about the allegations of domestic violence?
When I originally made contact with Mr. Rubin, he would not talk to me about it. When I started to try to talk to him about it, he stated that it was a one-time incident and the kids were not involved, so it does not matter.
Have you discussed the possibility of Mr. Rubin working some services with FBS?
I attempted to, yes.
And has he been cooperative in trying to work those services?
He has not.
Are you requesting that he also have some counseling, some parenting classes?
I do.
Including a possible battery intervention program because of the domestic violence that was in the home?
Yes.
Any other services that you're asking that Mr. Rubin work at this time?
I believe that is all.
Do you believe that there was domestic violence in the home based upon Miss Neal's admissions to you?
I do.
And do you believe that if we don't have services offered to these parents, that there is a continuing danger for the children?
Yes.
Pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Kendall, the department is requesting that the parents reside in separate homes. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. But Miss Neal has reported to you that due to financial reasons, she can't break her lease right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what kind of timeline is the department requesting if she can't move out of the home immediately?
There is no timeline that we can put because we do understand about the financial burden that could cause. I tried to explore different friends, family members, that type of stuff with Judea, and she denied having anybody to do so.
Okay. And that's because her family doesn't live locally. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But she does have family and support. They just don't live near her.
Correct.
Okay. So the department isn't going to penalize her because she doesn't have the financial ability to immediately move out of this house. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And in your conversations with her, has she been cooperative with you?
She has.
And has she maintained contact with you?
Yes, she has.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hammonds?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Kendall, in reading through your report, I couldn't determine, have any criminal cases been filed against either Miss Neal or Mr. Rubin that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Even as far as you know, were cases presented and possibly refused by the prosecuting authorities?
I'm not sure on that.
All right. The reality of it is, Mr. Rubin really doesn't want to have anything to do with St. Francis, correct?
I can't say on that as well.
Well, he's not cooperating with you.
Correct.
I mean, he hadn't returned your phone calls. He hadn't agreed to work services.
Correct.
All right. The last incident looked like it might have been the most serious, where Mr. Rubin actually had a cut on his hand, but Miss Neal denies cutting him. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When you have visited with the kids, they've appeared to be clean, well taken care of, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, the little girl, Zoe, she's indicated that mom and dad argue, but she hasn't indicated to you that she felt like she was in any kind of danger.
She did not indicate that she was in any danger.
Okay. And you also questioned her regarding any kind of, I guess, drinking in the home, maybe excessively, as well as any type of abuse, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't raise any concerns about that?
No, not about that.
All right. And she's just now, is she first grade?
She is, yes, she's in first grade.
Do you remember which school you went to visit her? Have they transferred her into, because that's not in their district, is it?
It is not. I'm not sure how she goes to that school.
Because are they still living at 26?
Yes.
Did you talk to Mom about her specifically transferring Zoe into sleep?
I did not, no.
Where do Miss Neil's parents or family live? You said she has some support, but not here in Amarillo.
Yes, they live in South Texas. I can't exactly remember what city it is.
Did she indicate they help her financially?
She did not.
So it's your understanding Mr. Rubin is the primary source of income, but I understand Miss Neil also is working. She mentioned a couple fast food places in the past, but you don't know where she's working right now.
From what she told me, she works at a dentist's office.
At which office?
A dentist office. I'm not exactly sure which one it is.
Okay. Okay. And did Derek, do you even know where Derek works?
I do not.
In your history, you don't indicate the department's been involved in these people's lives before, correct?
They do have CPS history with us.
All right. Well, the history that I looked at was, I guess, going back to February 2023, where there were these indications of possible assaults, but nothing's been, you indicated there have been no criminal charges, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but in those instances, did your department actually meet with these folks and investigate?
As much as they could, yes. There was some uncooperation.
Okay, but there were no other, what I would call, official actions taken by your department?
All I know is that they have been offered family-based safety services before, and they have denied it both times.
Okay. I have nothing further, Judge.
All right, and Ms. Vola?
Ms. Kendall, when you were talking with Zoe, did she mention that her mom and Mr. Rubin fight with their hands?
She did.
And did she mention that has occurred on multiple occasions?
She did.
And Miss Neil made those statements as well?
Yes.
Did Mr. Rubin ever make any statements to you about the cut on his hand and how that occurred?
He did not.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Downey?
I have no further questions, Your Honor. I rest.
All right, and Ms. Kincaid, need to call any witnesses today?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hammonds?
Judge, I just want the court to know, I've made several attempts to talk to Derek, called the number that I had, left him messages. He never called me back. I talked to him this morning. Basically, the conversation I had with him, Judge, I was going to find out what his position was, if he planned to cooperate with the department or not, and he basically told me he would like to talk to the judge about it, indicating to me I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of cooperation with him, at least initially, depending on what happens today. I don't know, Judge, that they met their burden in regards to what they testified about today. It does indicate to me that certainly these people are arguing, but I think the court is well aware of the local prosecuting attorneys. I'm not going to necessarily say eagerness, but they certainly don't have a lack of filing on people when there is probable cause to indicate a Class C or an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon may have occurred. They certainly don't have any reluctance in doing that. And it's indicative to me that over the last 6 months, no criminal cases have been filed. That would indicate to me it's a fairly minor argument. Now, I understand St. Francis' concern. I understand the court's concerned about these young kids. But to push it to the level where these people are going to have to cooperate with the department, I just don't think it's been met. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Ms. Zavala, anything to present today?
Nothing to present, Your Honor. I have not met with the kids, and I want to make sure that if the court orders participation, that the parents understand that my role will require me coming to the home to meet and to talk with the kids. But I have nothing to present at this time.
All right. Ms. Neal, let me just ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
You know, I'm concerned about the number of times that the police have been out. Okay, whether things have escalated physically or not, I mean, it's just concerning. You know, it's the old where there's smoke, there's fire, and sadly, that's the way a lot of these things start. You know, let me just ask you: is your intent still to probably separate from him when your lease is up in April?
Yes. So I also, like I spoke to my attorney yesterday, the setting date is still on April. Like I said, the lease of my apartment is still in April. So I do plan on doing that transition.
So let me just ask you, I mean, do you feel like that, you know, doing some of these services, I mean, you know, it's designed to try to help you. I'm just wondering, would some of the counseling, would some of the classes maybe help prepare you for when you are going to make that move to be independent with the children? I mean, do you feel like any of that would assist you in making that happen?
Yeah. So I feel that anytime, really, it could really be now. I would rather do it now. The concern of it when it was presented in the past was that it would to be both of us. I don't want to consider myself with someone who is antagonizing this situation to be at this point. So if there's nothing that I could do with him, I would like to figure out something to do for myself starting now, because at the end of the day, like, I have the majority of the time. I've even started, you know, making trips of my own of separation without it being court ordered, just to make a start somewhere. Because I do plan on just making things a huge transition then.
My thinking is this might give you some additional support system for when you do make that transition. You know, you have an established relationship with a counselor, you'd have an established relationship with some people that deal with domestic violence, you know, established relationship, you know, possibly, you know, counseling for Zoe. And so it's to me, it's more about what help can we give you all. I mean, I'd love it if he would participate in all this.
And I've even spread out an option of that before this gotten to this point, but unfortunately things just was unresponsive. So I'm left on the short end of the stick, having to just take it from where it is and just make the best of what I can with my kids. So I just try to do what I can.
And you know, and I think that we can do some things to help you with all of that. So I you know, appreciate your honesty about it. I hate putting anybody on the spot like that, but I just kind of wanted to know what your feeling was. And you know, and maybe he'll have a change of heart, and maybe he will decide that he might benefit from some of this, whether you all stay together or not. You know,
I would rather for him to just try to experience getting himself together. He's never had himself to actually be out in the world, so it's always been me having to be there for him. So with this separation and with classes for myself, it'll be able to just show growth within me, or even if to him, once he figure out what he wants to do. It's just disappointing because you would expect things to be better, even for the sake of the kids, but you know, I can't really burden for someone else because they need someone.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, I find that the order to participate I think is preventive in nature, and that the family would benefit from the services. And I do hope that Mr. Rubin will, come around to decide that he would benefit from some of this. But if we're looking down the road, then I certainly want to give mom the help that we can give her. So I'm going to order the services as requested, and find the department's continuing to make reasonable efforts to work with this family so that it doesn't go to the next level. That's what we don't want.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't want it to turn into illegal removal, where we're looking at pulling the kids out of the home, and none of us want to go there. So I'll sign the order when it's presented, and then Ms. Neal will have a review hearing on February 29th. And that'll just be, see how everything's going for you.
Okay.
I want you to promise me if things escalate and get heated, just, you and the kids go somewhere, if things get worse, then, I mean, you have to know how to walk away if he doesn't. And, the objective is to make sure that all of you are safe.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's all kinds of folks you can call if you need help. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge.
Same is true for him. I'm not saying, I'm, I think the evidence has been that this has been somewhat mutual between the two of you, but my concern is if it escalated on one side or the other, it can get,
either way, it'll just affect the kids at the wrong one.
Affect your children, and it can be a very dangerous situation. So, okay, I appreciate your cooperation and your willingness to work with us and all this, and I hope that this will be helpful.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll see you back in February.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge.
All right, I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank you.
Judges,
all right, thank y'all.
Is Miss Ruiz in your waiting room?
No.
Okay. I may have Rachel send her your notes at a later date because she prepares all my orders typically in your court, and I'm not sure where she's at.
we can just send her my docket entry.
That'd be fine.
It's pretty brief what it'll say, but we can send that to her.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right, Ms. Neal, you're free to go, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you,
very
Judge.
much.
Judge, this is T.D. Hammonds. I will just assure the court, I will continue to reach out to Mr. Rubin. I kind of got the sense from him, he felt like I was more of an adversary to him than somebody who wanted to help him. So if I can just have a 15-minute conversation with him, hopefully I can get him to understand, we're all his friends at this moment, but friends can become enemies very quickly if things go south. So,
yeah. Well, and I apologize. And convey to him, I'm sorry that he didn't understand that his case wasn't till later this morning, and that I understand he had to go to work. But
well, and like I said, Judge, he did not contact. Well, I never did hear from him until I tried to then get a hold of him right at about 11, thinking, wherever he was, I could get a hold of him, and that did happen. It's just he wasn't willing to discuss the issues of the case. He was more, I just want to talk to the judge. I don't know that he realized, well, I'm the guy that's trying to help you as well. So, I'll try to get that conveyed to him. I'll send him some text to the phone number that I have. Maybe that'll get him to respond to me.
Okay.
But I think definitely it's a situation where if they would just both cooperate, I think we can, get this. We would all feel comfortable about this whole situation if they get some help. But I understand, your position. So, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate you. Thanks. Permanency hearing.
All right, goodbye.
We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties, and we are live streaming. And Ms. Taylor's making our record. All right, and I have received a recommendation from Mr. Barfield, the ad litem. He's in a trial somewhere. Mr. Taylor, I'm not expecting today, as he is still on medical leave. I don't have Ms. Grant in the waiting room. So let's see, and I think Mr. Kroll is logged in. What's this Zoom user? I spoke with him earlier today, so I'm pretty sure that's him.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We'll take announcements.
Todd Abbey on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm president, ready to proceed, Your Honor. The St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist in charge of this case, Ms. Cassie Kopic.
Judge, real quick, we are not assigned to this case. We were here for the Sheffield. I didn't know if you want to go back in the waiting room or.
If y'all want, you all just turn your cameras off if you want. That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Judge, I guess I'm the only attorney left, so.
Yeah. Let me. All right then. Let's get an update from the department.
Ms. Kopic would be able to give us that update, Your Honor.
The kids continue to do well in the placement. They're placed with their maternal grandma. Mom really hasn't engaged in services. The only thing that she has done is the OSAR evaluation, which recommended Padre, and Cash also did the OSAR, which recommended Padre. So we'd ask that you make that on order of the court. And then Cash has reported that he has done his psychosocial last week, but I haven't received that report at this time. And then also we'd like for you to order the parents to hair follicle drug screen Cash and Lori. Cash did complete a UA, but it took him almost 3 months, and Lori hasn't since the beginning had a drug screen.
Okay. Who was he referred to for the psychosocial?
Jennings Counseling.
Okay. Mr. Kroll, have you been there to do that?
Yes, ma'am. I did it. I think it was not last week, but the week before with Greg Jennings.
Steve Jennings?
Or Steve, yes, ma'am. I couldn't remember his name, but yes, ma'am, over in Canyon.
All right. Okay, we'll be looking for that. All right, we got Ms. Kopic. Have we started on any other services?
No.
Okay, what's the goal in the case right now?
The goal is still family reunification, and also Pedro, the dad to Brianna, he has done his psychosocial evaluation. There's not really any concerns there.
All right, and Ms. Grant has just logged in. When you say there are no concerns, so you mean within the psychosocial, there were no concerns, or?
Yes, there wasn't any concerns with that. He is the non-offending parent, but he did agree that Brianna's involved in the school system in Claude, and he didn't want to disrupt her. Right. And he lives in the San Antonio area.
Right, but he's willing for her to stay right where she's at for now, at least.
Yes,
because that's what she wants.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right then, Ms. Grant, anything today?
Nothing to add to the court report, Judge.
All right, and Mr. Kroll, are you thinking any more about what you're going to do about an attorney?
No, myself on all this, and I would like Casey to, if she could, let me know what else I need to get done so I can get it done in a timely manner. I didn't know how to talk to some guy named Anthony. I didn't know how to do that because it wasn't in that paper. All I had to do was that psychosocial, the CASA, and the drug screen. I didn't know how to talk to another person.
All right. So, do you have a copy of your service plan?
Yes, ma'am. It's in my email, but there wasn't. Those are only 3 things that were in there that I had to do.
We have actually talked about you completing the recommendations from the OSAR evaluation, which was the Padre program, and he did that fairly early on, and we have talked about it.
So, Mr. Kroll, your service plan outlines everything that they're expecting you to do. I wish you would consider applying for a court-appointed attorney so you'd have an attorney help advise you through this. We're 172 days into this case, and we got lots to do if these kids are going to come home. So the clock is ticking. So that's all I can tell you is I think you'd be smart to try to apply for an attorney or hire an attorney, do something.
Yeah.
But you need to get your service plan and, start making those appointments because there's a wait list on some of those things.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Taylor, like I said, is on medical leave. He's not present today. So we got Mr. Barfield's recommendation. Let me pull that up real quick. Okay. All right. His recommendation is to just maintain placement. And since he spoke with the oldest child yesterday with Brianna. All right. And Casa.
And the girls are doing really good in placement with grandma. Bree is super busy girl. And they're both doing really well in school. So I don't really have anything else to add. I haven't been able to reach either parent. The only parent I've spoke to is Pedro. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
All right.
How would I get in touch with you, Shelly, to do that?
I can call you again today at the number that I have.
Yes. Can you tell me what number you have for me?
Okay, we're on YouTube, so we try not to put those numbers out there. There's a chat feature.
Okay.
That you could exchange that information, or I'll put you in a breakout room where you can talk privately. Okay. All right. Did you get that?
Yes, you just sent me her number as well.
Okay. All right. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue the children's current placement. I find that there's a continuing and ongoing danger to return the children home at this time, that the department is using reasonable efforts to try to reunify the children with the parents. We are sadly making very little progress, and I'm going to set the final on March 27th of 2024. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. If we haven't made any progress with services by then anticipate we will move forward with the final hearing. If we've made progress, we can always push it back. So March 27th of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket.
I have a question also. Is Connie the grandmother? Is she receiving our child support money yet or no?
That's not a question that I can answer. I don't know if Ms. Kopic would know the answer to that or not.
To my knowledge, it's not going directly to her. It's just going to the state.
When would she be giving that, I guess, to help support? Because I gave her some money to help support the children, but I didn't know if she was getting my child support money yet or not.
Judge, I can reach out to the Attorney General's office, but that's often the deep dark hole that money falls into.
Yeah. Is she licensed?
She isn't, but they are working with her to get her licensed.
Okay. So, Mr. Kroll, if she gets licensed, she'll be getting some kind of subsidy through the state. So there'll be some financial support there.
Okay, because I pay for Cameron, I pay around $1,200 a month. So I was wondering where that money was going to go, if she was getting it or not.
Well, it's probably going into the state coffers right now because the state has custody of the child. We can try to see if we can get it redirected. I certainly would like to have it redirected to placement, but it's kind of I wish I had a better answer, but it's very difficult.
Judge Baker, Your Honor, we did do an order redirecting.
Okay. So I guess somebody can just check with her and see if she's seen anything yet. All right, then I'll see everybody back in March.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, the motion hearing regarding, I think, visitation. I think at Ms. Molinax's request. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Mr. Barfield is not present today. He's in trial elsewhere, but I don't think this hearing today really affects his client. Mr. Taylor is on medical leave, same thing. He represents Mr. Rodriguez, probably doesn't really affect his client. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Aven on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready to proceed. Jake Cairns is St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist for this case. She's present also.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Manuel Morales. My client indicated he would like to be here today. I'm not sure if he's in the waiting room or not, but I'm present and ready.
Okay, I brought everybody in that was in the waiting room, so I don't have anybody else out there right now.
Okay.
Judge Sage Seal here for respondent mother Tamara Sheffield. I've only visited with her on the phone as of a recent appointment due to Mr. Raby being appointed to the bench. So I do not know if she is here or not. The link was made available to her.
Okay, she is not logged in.
Thank you.
Stacy Grant on behalf of Martin Gomez, and I do not see my client present, Your Honor. However, I'm ready to proceed.
Okay, I did not show him. I don't show him logged in either.
Bethany Stevens for the unknown father, present, ready, Your Honor.
And next attorney ad litem for the children, ready, Your Honor. And it looks like Sierra is also present.
Okay, and Casa is present with us. Ms. Mullinax, do you want to kick off this party?
That's fine, Your Honor. I'm not really the one that wanted the hearing. It's Casa. And so I just kind of requested it for Casa, but I would call Heather Overmiller so she can discuss the concerns Casa has. All right. And you've been the worker since the beginning of the case. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're aware that mom had some visitation with the children?
Yes.
Did recently in the month of, I guess, December, or late November, did Casa begin to have some concerns with mom's visits with the children?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell the court what Casa's concerns are with the visitation with mom and the children?
Yes. I have been aware and contact with the placement, and all of the kids' attitude and behavior has kind of changed since they have been having visitation with mom.
Hey, Judge.
Okay. Y'all were talking over each other. Ms. Grant, what was your objection?
The objection is hearsay because her statement began with she's been in contact with placement.
All right. So, Ms. Overmiller, you understand you can't tell me what somebody else said unless it's one of the parents in the case, or it has to do with an outcry of a child about abuse or neglect. So you'd have to testify as, what your personal knowledge is, what you've seen, that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right. So I'll sustain the objection.
I have talked with the girls and know that there has been some incidents with them getting in trouble at school. And when I have gone to visit, they have been on orange for behavior. That was not the case before they started visitation. So I have some major concerns of how it's affecting them. I know it's been very hard. They love their mom and they are so excited to see her. But they have been asking how the service plan's going, and mom has not been answering. And so they're having a real hard time processing that information of seeing mom, but there's no update or change in them going home.
Was there recently a visit after which Kaylee had some contraband?
Yes. From my understanding, I'm sorry.
Objection to hearsay, Judge.
Okay. Sustained.
Do you have other concerns that you haven't voiced today?
I am concerned of what I know at the last visit there was a time that the kids were all in the car at the visit.
Objection hearsay, Judge, unless she was there present in the car.
Let's lay some predicate. Ms. Mullinax.
At the visits, have you been present at the visits?
I have not.
All right. And so if there's anybody that was in the car, you weren't there in the car with them?
No.
All right. You said there's been behavioral incidents. Which girls have been in trouble at school?
Sierra and Kaylee.
Have either of them been suspended or in ISS?
Yes, they both went to DAP for a given time. I don't remember the exact days for vaping in school.
And since you visit them or talk to them on a regular basis, have you seen marked differences in their behaviors and personalities since they've been having visits with mom?
Yes.
Are those negative or positive?
Negative.
Ms. Mullinex, let me interrupt you. I've had a Holly Bryan come into the waiting room. Can somebody tell me who that is?
She's a potential witness, Your Honor. I think we're going to be able to get the information that we're trying to get through Miss Bryan. She was present during the last visit.
All right, you want me to bring her in now, or anybody want to invoke the rule, or what?
I'll invoke the rule, Judge.
I'd like to invoke the rule, Judge.
All right, let me bring her in real quickly. Just a minute.
And Judge, I would pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Seal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Overmiller, do you know that per the service plan, Ms. Sheffield would not be allowed to discuss the progress on the service plan with her children?
I do not.
And how do you know that the orange marked behavior directly correlates to the visit times with mom regarding Sierra and Kaylee?
I just know that that was not the case prior when I had made visits, and it was after that I noticed that it had changed.
We'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Grant?
Ms. Overmiller, is it your testimony that children have never been on orange prior to mom's visit?
I cannot recall another time that that they were previous to that.
How many times do you visit the school each month?
The school?
Yes.
I have not visited the school, but I have been in contact with the counselor at the school.
Okay. So have you reviewed their school records?
I have contacted the counselor and asked for updates on how they were doing and got information that way.
My question is, Ms. Overmiller, have you reviewed their records personally to have personal knowledge of the information you're testifying to today?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand? Well, strike that, Judge. So how many times have you personally seen that the children were on orange at school?
The orange was at their placement, not at their school. But it was regarding to behavior and actions that happened at school.
So placement uses a color coding system for behaviors?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the children placed with family?
No, they are not.
So it's a system used at the Boys and Girls Ranch in Levitt, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where the children are placed?
Yes.
Okay. How many times have you visited the children there?
I visited every month, I think, except for one since I have started with the case when the case started.
Okay, just one time a month?
Yes, but I am in contact with the placement on a weekly basis.
Okay, pass the witness. Thank you. I don't have any questions, Judge.
Okay, and Ms. Stevens, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Albee.
I don't have any questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Mullinex, anything further of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right then. Ms. Mullinex, do you have any other witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor, I would defer to Mr. Albee on the other one that came in. I don't know her.
Okay, Mr. Albee.
Your Honor, I would call Ms. Holly Bryan.
All right, you may proceed, Mr. Albee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bryan, do you work for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services?
I work for St. Francis Ministries.
What are your duties with St. Francis Ministries?
I'm a family support worker, and mostly my job role is I supervise visits and document what happens during those visits.
In that capacity, have you been supervising the visits between Ms. Sheffield and her children?
Yes.
And how many visits have you supervised concerning this family?
I want to say about 5 in-person visits, I believe, approximately.
And at the last visit, was there something that happened that caused you some concerns?
Yes. So
let me ask questions, okay? Ms. Bryan, when was that last visit?
that would have been November 27th, 2023.
And who all was involved with that visit?
It was me, The Miss Sheffield, Macy, Aaron, Kaylee, and Sierra.
And what was there actions that, well, tell me what caused you concerns about that visit?
So before that visit, they had decided to cut mom's visits down to every other week. And when we got to the visit, it was pretty much normal for the most part. But towards the end of the visit, the mom, Tamara, asked me, "Are you going to apologize for lying on me?" And I know that she thinks that it's my fault that their visits got cut in half. And I just told her, we can talk about this later.
Objection, Judge. Objection to the response after I know that she thinks, but not objecting to the whole response.
All right. Maybe I misunderstood her testimony.
I believe the witness testified that the mother asked her for an apology, but then the witness went on to testify to what the mother thinks, and I'm only objecting to the part after what the mother thinks.
Yep, understand. Speculation. Okay.
Miss Bryan, has Miss Sheffield advised you that she believes that you were telling fabrications about something that she had been doing?
Yes.
And what specifically did she tell you?
She asked, "Are you going to apologize for lying on me?"
Okay. And what did you take that to mean?
I took that to mean that she thought that I was lying to get her visits cut in half.
Do you have any personal feelings about whether or not Miss Sheffield exercises visits?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
All right, let me ask it this way. Did you tell any fabrications or tell any lies about the visits that you had been observing?
No.
Okay. Now, when Miss Sheffield asked you if you were going to apologize, what was your response?
I told her we can't talk about it in front of the kids. We could talk about it later.
And what was Miss Sheffield's response to you?
She asked me again, "Well, are you going to apologize?"
And what was her emotional state at that time?
She appeared upset at that point. That was before it had escalated. So to me, she just was asking again.
And you said it escalated. How did it escalate?
So I reiterated, we can't talk about it in front of the kids. And she said something to the effect that her kids are almost grown and that I was hurting them also and that they wanted to have their visits.
And how did the children respond to this emotional outbreak by mom?
So at this point, the kids hadn't said anything yet.
Did they say something eventually?
Yes.
And first of all, what did they say?
I heard Macy say, "Just let it go. You're digging your hole or you're making it worse."
You said at this point, did Miss Sheffield did her actions continue to escalate?
Yes.
Did she say anything additional?
So after she was pushing me, I told her, if we can't be appropriate, then we have to leave. And she said, "I don't have to do anything and it's time to leave anyway." So I told her, okay, we've got to end it. That's it. And I had to walk her outside to the parking lot because the office where we have the office, we were on the second floor and they lock all the doors and all the elevators. And I was the only staff member in the building. So we walked downstairs and I had to take the kids with me because I can't leave them alone. So we got down to the elevator and the kids gave her a hug. And I think Macy and Sierra put her bag in the car. She gave them hugs. And I think she handed Aaron a pair of pants. And she turned to me and continued that I was lying on her and that God or Jesus would deal with me. And how would I like it if I couldn't see my kids? And at this point, she was yelling, and I asked her to get in her car and to leave. And she said that she didn't have to do anything.
Do you feel like that it has become unsafe for you to continue to observe the visitation?
I don't know that I would say I'm worried for my physical safety, but I feel like if she doesn't trust me, that it might affect the environment with the kids being there because they witnessed all of this. So they know what it was like. So I worry that the visits just wouldn't be a positive thing.
Have you observed the children either during or after a visit with any contraband?
No.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Right, Ms. Seal?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bryan, would you agree with me that this would be kind of a high stress, high emotional situation, a mom with her children where she's not allowed to have just kind of free reign with them?
Yeah, I think it would be.
Okay. And you described that you were required to escort Ms. Sheffield out because the elevators and the doors were locked and that you were the only staff member. Is that something that has happened before?
Yeah, that happens every visit I've had with them.
Okay, so that was not abnormal for this visit.
I mean, that's just what we did every week.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Grant?
Ms. Bryan, if out of all the times you've escorted her out, is this the first time that things have escalated into a confrontation?
Yes.
Are you suggesting that she needs another person to observe her visits, or are you suggesting that her visits should be taken away? What resolution would you suggest?
After that, I think it would be good for visits to be suspended.
So is there an option for someone else to supervise the visits?
If they can find someone else to do it.
Is there anyone else?
Have to reassign it. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you can go ahead. I interrupted you.
They would just have to be able to find a person with the availability to do the visit, I think would be the thing about that.
So are you able to move forward with the mother at this point in a positive way, or let me just leave it at that. Are you able to move forward with the mother at this point in a positive way following the event?
I'm willing to move forward as like nothing happened, as long as we don't have any other incidents like that.
Okay. This
as long
being
as I'm not put in that situation again.
I understand. Is there any other option for another staff member to possibly do the escort out, since you're the person who observes the visits?
Again, we would just have to make arrangements for that, because the visits happen after hours.
Okay.
So it starts at 5:30. So again, it would just be a matter of there being another person available to go with us.
Okay. Do the children enjoy the visits with the mom?
Yeah, for the most part, I think they do. They always seem excited to see her.
They do. Do you think there'd be any negative effect on the children if the visits were suspended and they suddenly couldn't see her at all?
I think it would be possible.
All right. Sustained.
Okay. Have the children ever expressed to you that they would be disappointed if they weren't able to visit with their mom?
No.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge. That's okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Sapien?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Ms. Stevens?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Mullinex?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bryan, you said that you had supervised 5 different visits. Is that right?
I think so. That might be wrong, but
and whenever
a handful at least.
Okay. And whenever you supervise visits, do you go over the rules of the visitation with the parent before they visit?
No, I just had her sign the rules when we started doing visits.
Okay, but you present her the rules and then have her read them or whatever and sign.
Yes.
Okay. And so is one of those rules not discussing the case in front of the children?
Yes.
Other than this occasion you're talking about, has that happened on any of the other visits that you have supervised?
There have been times when Kaylee had asked, "Are you doing your services or have you started? Because I would like to go home." And Tamara didn't respond. So I guess I didn't really feel the need to redirect until it had gone on more in other visits. And then I told her, that's not something we can talk about. And Tamara and I both kind of said at the same time that it's not something that we can talk about during visits.
And so it may have come up before, but not necessarily like it did this last time.
No, not to an extent that I thought it was.
All right. And all of the kids were there at this last visit. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And how long was that visit?
2 hours.
Did it go well otherwise?
This part, Kaylee was asking about her dad, and Tamara didn't really seem to want to talk about it. So she would seem to change the subject, or just kind of, she would say like, it doesn't matter, or I think she might have said it's none of your business. Which I don't guess that's talking about the case, but it seemed to be a touchy subject.
Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Albee.
Thank you, Miss Bryan. When Miss Grant was asking you questions, she gave you an either or, and your response was that you thought that visitation should be suspended. Tell me why you think that.
So, I mean, just because of this last visit, and I have been told by placement that
Objection here to anything told by placement.
Sustained.
So your recommendation is based upon this last event, the conflict that took place, and then some conversations you had with placement.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Bryan. I'll pass it.
All right. Anybody have any further questions for Ms. Bryan?
No, Your Honor.
No.
All right, Ms. Bryan, thank you very much. Is she free to leave at this time?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Albee, any other witnesses?
Your Honor, I would call Ms. Shay Cairns.
You may proceed.
Ms. Cairns, you're the St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist involved with Tamara Sheffield and her children?
Yes, sir.
And has Ms. Sheffield been ordered to work services?
Yes, sir.
Has she completed any of those services she was ordered to work?
No, sir.
Do you believe that the reasons that the children were removed from her care have been alleviated at this time?
I do not.
In your dealings with the children and their placement, have there been recent setbacks in their behaviors?
Yes, there has.
Do you have an opinion today as to whether or not it would be in the best interest of the children to continue with visitation with Miss Sheffield?
I believe that the visitation should be suspended right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cairns. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Cairns, would the recommendation about the suspension, that's based solely on the behavior setbacks and the lack of compliance with Ms. Sheffield and her service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And does that also take into consideration the children and the lack of visitation that would be occurring with their mom?
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Grant.
Ms. Cairns, how long has the visitation been going on with the mother?
That started, I apologize, I don't have that date. Just a second.
You can estimate if you don't know exact.
About 2 months in person.
Okay. And the setbacks are only recent, correct?
With the children, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
With the children, yes.
So if they visited for 2 months with no setbacks, why are the current setbacks being attributed to visitation with the mother only?
Because the setbacks started after they had in person.
They started within the last 2 months, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. No, that was my clarification I need to know. Thank you. Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Aiken.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Stevens.
I have no questions, Your Honor. And Your Honor, I'm about to have to step out for just a couple of minutes. But I don't believe, since I have the unknown father, that it will in any way be a problem.
And Cash also did the OSAR, which recommended Padre. So we'd ask that you make that an order of the court. And then.
Okay. All right. Say that again, Ms. Stevens.
I'm about to have to step out for just a few moments, but since I have the unknown father, I'm not certain. I don't think it'll affect anything. Would that be okay with you, Your Honor?
That's fine. I mean, if you need to leave permanently today, that's fine. I
I'm
don't
hoping
think
to
it's
just step out
fine.
and then be back.
All right. Ms. Sapien, any questions?
No, Judge.
I may have already asked you. I'm sorry, Ms. Mull next.
Shay, you said a moment ago that the setbacks had started since the in-person visits had started. Was there other visitation prior to that?
I believe they had 1 or 2 virtual.
And as far as you're aware, were there any issues with the virtual visits?
No, there were not.
And you said 1 or 2. How do you know how often the virtual were?
I believe they were weekly.
And so that would have been maybe in September or so, do you think?
Yes. It was the judge had ordered us to get the virtual visits started, so I'd have to look. I apologize.
That's okay. And then so if the judge were to continue with the virtual visits, at this time we don't know anything that was negatively affecting the children with regard to virtual visits, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Allen.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Cairns?
No.
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Allen?
I apologize, Judge. I do have another question or two of Ms. Cairns.
Sure.
Ms. Cairns, has Kaylee been caught with contraband?
Yes, sir.
And what type of contraband has she been caught with?
It was
Objection to the response to this question unless the witness has personal knowledge and saw the contraband being caught.
Your Honor, she would have access to the records, and it would be her job to know.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to overrule the objection.
So long as her knowledge is from the records. And not hearsay.
Yes, she had a vape, a THC vape that was taken from mom's car.
And
that's what Kaylee told me.
Kaylee told you she took it from mom's car?
Yes.
When was that?
At the visit on 11/27.
Thank you. I'll pass words.
Judge, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Ms. Cairns, where in the record was that documented?
It is in a intake report that was called in.
And who's the author of that intake report?
I'm just looking at it to verify. One of the house parents. And I spoke with Kaylee myself as well.
Okay, thank you. Pass witness.
Ms. Cairns, did Kaylee tell you whether or not, I mean, did mom give it to her or did she just take it?
Well, when mom was arguing with Holly, she went to the car and took it, but she knew it was there. She also told me that she knew that mom was bringing marijuana back from Oklahoma. And that's what was in the vape. It wasn't just the Delta 8 ones that mom usually has.
But there's not any evidence that mom handed it to her.
No.
Or gave it to her.
No.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Cairns?
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Okay. All right, Mr. Abbey, you have anything further?
No, Your Honor. Rest.
Has Ms. Sheffield drug tested for us anytime recently?
Yes, I had her drug screen last month and it was diluted. 11/13, I believe. It was a diluted UA, but it was still positive.
For what substance?
Marijuana. I thought marijuana.
Has she given us a negative drug screen during the pendency of the case?
No, she has not.
Has she given us other drug tests that were positive for marijuana?
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. And at this point, she's worked no other services?
No, and she has expressed to me that she will not work the services, that she has too much to do right now, and she's done them multiple times. So.
And have you been clear with her about what the potential consequences of not working services?
Yes, ma'am.
If I recall, she's only appeared in one hearing.
Mm-hmm.
She appeared at another motion hearing that we had. And she appeared at the initial permanency hearing. Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other witnesses to call today?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Molinax, as the children's attorney, what is your recommendation about this?
Well, Your Honor, all the children are old enough, and I believe my my role as the attorney ad litem is just to make a recommendation based on what they want, and I think that they still want visits. I think it's CASA, the guardian ad litem, that makes the recommendation regarding their best interest.
Yeah, I just want to know what your recommendation is as their attorney ad litem, and if the children, that would be it. If the children want to continue.
Yeah, that they would still have visits even if they're virtual. But I know they want contact with their moms, so that would be my recommendation.
All right, and CASA.
Yes, Your Honor. As I have said, I have my concerns. My job is to advocate for them, and I have talked to them personally for them to express what they want. And, they love their mom and they want to continue to see her. But I am not sure it's in their best interest from the situations that have happened. And, I am not physically there with them all the time, but I do get a lot of my information from the placement parent, who is very good at keeping me updated. And there has just been some negative behavior that seems to correlate with when the visits are, before the visits and after the visits. And I'm very concerned about, she took the kids at the very beginning, and then
all right,
so
we are getting ready for our Champions Club assembly. I'm going to go ahead and call pre-K and first.
I'm sorry, I apologize for having assembly. A concern, if visits were to continue, that they would be more monitored or have help, because it does terrify me, them being in the car or near the car, that she could just get in the car and take them. So, if I am concerned with their safety that way. So I feel like where they're at is where they need to be. And placement has been very supportive in helping them in all their things. But I'm very concerned about continuing visits in person.
And Judge, my understanding is that Sierra wanted to speak with the court.
Okay. All right, Ms. Cairns, got a couple questions for you. The home study that was on Sierra's dad, on Manuel Morales, Ms. Molinax pulled it up for me, but it was denied, and it looked like there was some missing information. He didn't confirm finances, some concern about that he's primarily Spanish speaking, and Sierra, about just communication, which she indicates is not a problem between them, but some missing information and all that. So is that something we can circle back around to, or do we have other issues?
I know another issue with my supervisor was talking about how the supervision for Sierra would probably not be there because he doesn't have a whole support system. I mean, if she's getting a hold of things now while she's being supervised, that was the concern, especially being in a bigger city, along with the finances as well.
Okay. So she's also told me she has an uncle named Luis Garcia. Have we attempted to make contact with him?
I just received that name at my visit with them last week. Okay. And I have tried to ask the mom, but she's currently not speaking with me. So,
all right. So Sierra says that contact information is in her phone. Sierra, who's got your phone?
The program director at the Texas Girls Ranch.
Yeah. Okay. So access that and maybe get it from her phone.
Yes, ma'am.
And Judge, this is Bailey. I have a sick baby, so I don't have a face. In regards to Manuel Morales, I was waiting to see if Mr. Raby or now Sage were able to get the paternity documentation. And then once that was determined, I would like to ask the court to reconsider placement with Mr. Morales. But at our last hearing, there was an issue of paternity brought up, and Mom indicated she had documentation for that.
Will you send me, Bailey, just a quick email about what all was supposed to be getting gathered?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I believe Gail had sent me, Miss Ruiz, I don't know if I'm saying it right, I apologize, had sent me something saying that was adjudicated that Morales was.
I show him as an adjudicated father, but I'm looking back to see if I saw anything.
Judge, I believe at the very beginning of the case that we tracked down Attorney General's adjudications on a couple of the dads, and that would Mr. Morales would be one of those.
Okay, great.
Judge Baker, Your Honor, there were existing orders out of Tarrant County that I tracked down. I'll be happy to send them through counsel again.
Okay, yeah, that's I remember seeing that when you all located those, so I don't think we have an issue with respect to paternity. So if there can be anything cleared up in that home study, then that's great. But let's go ahead and reach out and see if we can't make contact with Mr. Garcia.
Yes,
and see if he might be potential placement.
Yes, ma'am.
For Sierra.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, then. Anybody have anything else they want to present, or is everybody rest?
I'll rest.
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 All right, then. What we're going to do today is I'm going to put visitation back to virtual visits with Mom. And I told Sierra that's as much for just let's just sort of get everything calmed back down. Let Sierra and her sister kind of get through this DAEP. Let them kind of get their heads squared around. We've had a little talk about rules and why they're important, and let's just sort of take a step back and everybody take a breath, and we'll do this virtual for a little while and see how it goes. So, okay, everything else will stay the same, and let's take a look at Mr. Garcia.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.